The last time a Big Ten player brought home a Heisman Trophy was 2006 when Troy Smith threw up the pose after a fantastic season with the Buckeyes that year. But that trend could end this season. Who are some of those Big Ten stars that could be striking the pose at the end of the year in New York City?
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
Man, I tell you, there's so many great players in the Big Ten that you could probably put on this list. This list could probably be bigger than four. Like, there's a couple of Badgers and Buckeyes. Maybe Kyle McCord and Travion Henderson could do some really good things in the offense at Ohio State. What if everything clicks at Wisconsin with Tanner Mordecai and Braylon Allen? There's so many more names that you could put out there are great players in the Big Ten that could maybe soar to a maybe Heisman finalist, Heisman contender type of level. But I'm going to focus on four candidates. When you take a look at the Heisman Trophy, you got to take a look at guys that are absolutely the best or in the top 2 or 3 in their position in all of college football. And I believe these are guys that really fit into that category. I am so excited about Big Ten football because of these four guys. It is going to be a treat to watch each and every single one of them. The first player that I want to highlight is the best receiver in all of college football, and his name is Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, when I'm prepping for this video, I'm kind of looking back at some film of these guys. I'm looking back at some film of Marvin Harrison Jr. There were games last season where he's taking on good to great secondaries and just making it look so easy. That Penn State game, 10 catches, 185 yards. Like, that's a secondary with Joey Porter Jr. and Jair Brown and Kalen King. Though that's not a JV squad back there. You look at Georgia. Now, they maybe weren't as good as the season before, but still, they're Georgia. 5 catches, 106 yards. That was before he got hurt. What was that, late third quarter, early fourth quarter? I believe so. You leave him in there for another fourth quarter. Not only does he put up better numbers, but Ohio State might end up being the national champions, to be honest with you. In the Michigan game, 7 catches, 120 yards. We know that the Michigan Wolverines have a good secondary as well. This guy is doing it against some of the better defenses in all of college football. Everything is so effortless. It seems like at times Marvin Harrison Jr. is going 80%. Everybody else is going 110%. Yet Marvin is still toasting these guys. Like, that's the way it seems right now. He has the ability. Absolutely no question about that. He's in the correct system, right? Where they like to hit the big play over the top. I've said it many times on this channel. Ohio State loves to hit the big play. If you want to stop the Buckeyes, you got to stop the big play. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tough to do that with Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, you're in a system with a lot of weapons. Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams, a really good backfield. You've got the best receiving core in the country. How about Emeka Egbuka is really, really good. Could be a first-round draft pick. Julian Fleming and a lot of other guys on this offense. I actually think, especially on the wide receiver front, that having guys like Egbuka, Cade Stover at tight end, Julian Fleming, maybe true freshman Carnell Tate and Xavier Johnson is going to step up as well. Having all those guys, I think, is going to help, actually, because you don't have 2 guys, 3 guys that you're going to shadow your defense in the direction of Marvin, because if you do that, Emeka Egbuka is then going to be a Heisman candidate. So someone in the receiving corps is going to be a Heisman candidate at Ohio State. I just don't think that you can do that. Now they're going to try to double team him, but it's going to be very difficult. I think that one thing I think that maybe a little bit of a question mark is the quarterback. Whether it's Kyle McCord or whether it's Devin Brown, you got a new guy in at the quarterback. Of course, Kyle McCord seems like a better option right now because, of course, they played in high school, so maybe they have that built-in chemistry right now. But no matter what, it is still a new quarterback. It is still a relationship that needs to be developed more on the college football, on the Big Ten football field. Marvin Harrison Jr., I believe for him to get to a level where he is in the Heisman conversation, you got to get to 1,700, 1,800 yards, probably close to 20 touchdowns. Like the last one to do it, Devonta Smith back in 2020, he was unstoppable that season. You had a guy in Mac Jones throwing him the football that eventually became a first-round draft pick. So I think the quarterback is very key in this discussion for Marvin Harrison Jr. But no question, he's the best at his position, and he's going to be in the conversation from beginning to end. All right, when you talk about the Heisman Trophy, you got to throw in quarterbacks, and there's no better quarterback in the Big Ten than our guy J.J. McCarthy. Now, in order for him to really be in the Heisman conversation, because you got a guy returning out west in Caleb Williams, and we know what they're going to do in a Lincoln Riley system. They're going to throw it around a good amount. In order for J.J. McCarthy to really be in the conversation, I think this offense needs to be more balanced. We know what Jim Harbaugh wants to do. He wants to line up and dare the opposition to stop the running game. That's what he wants to do. But in order for J.J. McCarthy to really be in this Heisman conversation, they're going to have to end up throwing the football a little bit more. And I think that's a big if right now, because they have a generational running game with another really good offensive line back there for Michigan. J.J. McCarthy with 51st in the country in passing yards last season. That's got to boost up. Like, you look at the numbers on the screen right now. You probably got to boost those passing yards, 800 to 1,000 yards. You probably get to 30, 35 touchdowns, something like that. You got to take a big time jump. It remains to be seen if that's going to happen this year, but there's no doubt in my mind that J.J. McCarthy has the arm talent. This is a guy that is supremely talented at the quarterback position. Like, you put him, say, in USC's offense, or hell, maybe even Ohio State's offense, and I don't think there's any doubt that he's in the conversation for the Heisman Trophy. He's throwing 3,500 yards. He's throwing 35 touchdowns. But this Michigan offense with Jim Harbaugh and Sherrone Moore structured just a little bit different over there. And there's also no question that there's going to be guys on the perimeter that are going to help him out. Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, Colston Loveland, and others are going to be there. There are weapons on the outside, especially hitting that deep ball over the top. We know JJ can make plays. He really proved it, especially late in the season. I want to make a comparison quick about J.J. McCarthy. When you talk about a Jim Harbaugh coach team, and can a quarterback in a Harbaugh system really be at that level? We're thinking it now, but you got to go back 10 plus years, and I think it provides the point that said, yeah, this definitely can happen. 2011, Stanford, when Jim Harbaugh was the head coach. Andrew Luck was the quarterback, over 3,500 yards passing, 37 touchdowns. Stephon Taylor was the running back. He had over 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. Now, they didn't have the rushing attack that Michigan nearly has this past year. But if you're looking within a Jim Harbaugh scheme, where a Jim Harbaugh team where he really likes to run the football, he really likes to road grade on that offensive line, it's been done before. I think J.J. McCarthy can put up big numbers. It just remains to be seen is how the structure of the offense is going to be at the University of Michigan. I think that's a big factor on whether J.J. McCarthy can really get to that level. All right, let's go to the running game, because the running game is as good as it gets in all of college football in the Big Ten Conference, and we're sticking in Ann Arbor, Michigan with Blake Corum. All right, I am so excited to see Blake Corum fully healthy again playing college football. If it weren't for injury, Corum would have been a Heisman finalist last season. Look, he missed out on the last two games, Ohio State and the Big Ten Championship against Purdue. He could have had 20 touchdowns and probably over 1,700 yards. Now, would it have been enough to dethrone Caleb Williams as the Heisman Trophy winner? Maybe not. But this is still a running game. This is still a running back in Blake Corum that is running behind another fantastic offensive line, and we know how big of a deal that is into being a great Heisman Trophy caliber running back. And like I mentioned with J.J. McCarthy, this is a run-heavy formula in Michigan. They are going to dare you to stop them in the run game. One question mark I have about Blake Corum is now with the emergence of Donovan Edwards at the end of last season, how does the carry split up? Okay, how does that factor into things? Because Donovan Edwards, and he was actually kind of banged up at the end of last year as well, it was revealed, what he was able to do in the run game, and then what Blake Corum is able to do in the run game, how do those guys share carries? What's going to be the load for each one of these guys in each one of these games? So if you have kind of these two guys combining carries, does that kind of take away, like would Donovan Edwards take away from Blake Corum, so to speak? I think that remains to be seen, because both of those guys are going to be heavily involved in this running game at the University of Michigan. But there's absolutely no doubt in my mind Blake Corum's ability to have those Heisman moments, those big-time runs. He has shown the ability over the last 2 seasons to break through, get into the secondary, and run away from everybody else. When we talk about big plays and when we talk about a great running back duo, you got to go to our 4th and final contender, and that is Penn State, now sophomore running back Nicholas Singleton. Freshman this, freshman that, all freshman everything last year it was for Nicholas Singleton. But he showed during his freshman season that he has that Saquon Barkley big playability that it's been a while since they've seen in Happy Valley, Pennsylvania. Heisman moments galore for Nicholas Singleton last season, what he was able to do. But just like the Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum situation, what happens with a running back like Kaytron Allen in there, right? What's going to be the distribution of carries between Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen? I think that's going to be a bigger question. I think it's a bigger question for Michigan than it is for Penn State, right? I think Nicholas Singleton is I think he's a more of a primary option, even though Kaytron Allen is great. No question about it. He is awesome. But I think Nick Singleton in this offense is more of a primary offense at Penn State. Now you got a new quarterback, couple of questions out on the perimeter, out at receiver, some new guys stepping into number 1, number 2 roles, that kind of thing. Will that make Penn State depend on the run game a little bit more? I think that's something. I think they're going to lean heavy into the run game this season. Now, I also think that means there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of defenses that stack the boxes as well. But then again, kind of like Michigan with J.J. McCarthy and hitting those big plays over the top, I think Drew Aller will be able to hit stuff over the top to Dante Cephas, the transfer. How about Keandre Lambert-Smith? How about tight end Theo Johnson, who should be one of the very best tight ends in the Big Ten Conference? Look, guys, this is a great list of Heisman Trophy candidates. I am pumped to see what these guys can do. You take out Caleb Williams. If Caleb Williams, I don't know if this is going to happen, but if he drops off just a little bit, one of these 4 guys could be the guy that's striking the pose in New York City at the end of the 2023 regular season.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.